If you took the fortunes of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Bill Gates, combined them, and multiplied them by 2, you still wouldn't even come close to the wealth of one man. But who was he, and how did history somehow manage to forget him? For centuries, historians have quietly studied the life of an individual whose wealth was so massive that modern economists cannot calculate his net worth. Today, we think of tech billionaires as the peak of human prosperity. But the truth is, their entire fortunes would look like pocket change compared to this one ruler from the 14th century. Why is it that the wealthiest person to ever walk the earth is someone we barely hear about in history class? But that's not even the craziest part. The scale of his riches was so vast that his journey across the desert would quite literally break the global economy. How could one man possess so much power? Do you think anyone today could ever reach this level of wealth? Let me know in the comments. To understand this mystery, we have to travel back 700 years to an empire hidden in Africa. In the early 1300s, the West African Empire of Mali was quietly becoming the most important economic hub on the planet. Our story begins with a young man named Musa. Serving as a deputy to the king, he watched as rulers launched massive expeditions. What happened next shocked everyone. The reigning emperor became obsessed with finding the edge of the Atlantic Ocean. He loaded 2,000 ships with men and gold, sailed into the horizon, and was never seen again. Nobody expected what happened next. Because the king never returned, Musa was suddenly crowned the Mansa, the emperor, but he inherited an empire on the verge of either total collapse or unimaginable greatness. He had no idea that the soil beneath his feet held a secret that would make him the richest human being to ever exist. But how he unlocked this secret would require a level of ambition the world had never seen before. Mansa Musa quickly realized that his empire sat directly on top of the world's most valuable resources, salt and gold. At the time, the Mali Empire produced roughly half of the entire world's gold supply. Imagine owning 50% of all the gold on Earth today. And this is where the story becomes unbelievable. In the medieval world, gold was the foundation of all global trade, and Mansa Musa owned every single piece of gold mined within his borders. What would you do if you suddenly became this rich? Tell me in the comments. His wealth was so massive that modern historians estimate his net worth at an inflation-adjusted $400 billion, though many argue that number is still far too low. While modern billionaires have their wealth tied up in stocks, Mansa Musa owned the land and resources outright. But that's not even the craziest part. Musa wanted the world to know his name. To do this, he planned a journey so massive that it would leave the entire medieval world completely speechless. In 1324, Mansa Musa decided to make the sacred pilgrimage to Mecca. But this wasn't just a quiet spiritual trip. This was a moving city. The truth was far stranger than anyone imagined. Musa set out with a caravan of over 60,000 people. This included thousands of soldiers, heralds in Persian silks, and 80 camels, each carrying up to 300 pounds of pure gold dust. As they marched across the Sahara, they looked like a golden river flowing through the sand. Every single day, Musa would fund the construction of a new mosque along his path. Do you think money like this is a blessing or a curse? Share your thoughts in the comments. He handed out gold to the poor, bought exotic goods at whatever price merchants demanded, and left a trail of generosity wherever he stepped. What happened next shocked everyone. He arrived in Cairo, Egypt, giving away so much gold that the local citizens could hardly believe their eyes. But what happened next would change entire economies. By being incredibly generous, Mansa Musa accidentally triggered a financial disaster. Because he flooded the markets of Cairo with so much gold, the precious metal instantly lost its value. But that's not even the craziest part. The price of everyday goods skyrocketed. Inflation went completely out of control. Overnight, he ruined the economies of multiple nations just by being generous. It took over 12 years for these cities to fully recover from his visit. Realizing the devastation he had unintentionally caused, Mansa Musa did something no other ruler in history has ever done. On his journey back, he personally bought back as much gold as he could carry from local lenders, trying to balance the global economy himself. He is the only man in human history to single-handedly control the price of gold. Were you surprised by this fact? Tell me below. People in Europe began to hear rumors of a king whose supply of gold was infinite. European maps soon featured his image holding a massive golden coin. Nobody expected what happened next. But while the world was obsessed with his money, Mansa Musa was focused on something entirely different. The strangest part was still coming. When Mansa Musa returned to Mali, he didn't just sit on his throne and count his remaining gold. Instead, he used his wealth to build. He transformed the city of Timbuktu into a legendary center of learning, art, and architecture. He built massive libraries, funded world-class universities, and constructed grand mosques that still stand today, centuries later. And this is where the story becomes unbelievable. His focus shifted from material riches to intellectual wealth. He brought back the finest poets, scholars, and architects to turn his empire into a beacon of knowledge. Do you think anyone today could ever reach this level of wealth and still care about education? Let me know in the comments. This is why historians still talk about him today. It wasn't just that he had money, it was how he used it. His wealth wasn't stored in digital bank accounts. It was tangible, real, and shaped the course of human civilization. In a world where we constantly chase the next billion, Mansa Musa stands as our reminder of a different kind of power. He was a man who held the wealth of the world in his hands, yet chose to build a legacy of knowledge that survived long after his gold was gone. His story forces us to look at our modern definition of success and ask what truly lasts. If you enjoyed this story, leave a like and subscribe for more unbelievable stories from history. And tell me in the comments, if you had Mansa Musa's fortune for just one day, what would be the first thing you would do?